Welcome to Sleepless Ancient Odyssey. The day is done. It is time now to let the noise of your world fade into silence. Find your most comfortable position, and for the next few moments, simply relax. Tonight's Odyssey is about to begin. But be warned, this is not a journey through the world of the living. This is the sacred workshop where eternity is forged. Tonight, you will not just learn about the Egyptian afterlife. You will become its gatekeeper. You will hold the body of a pharaoh in your hands, silence his mortal heart, and begin the 70-day journey to transform a dead king into an immortal god. Whether you are here for a story to captivate your mind or a grand narrative to accompany you to sleep, your journey starts now. If you enjoy these odysseys, subscribe and join us every time we travel to the past. Now, let us begin. You are Nakht, Master of Secrets, Chief Embalmer in the Valley of the Kings. This title, passed down through 7 generations of your family, is not simply a profession. It is a sacred calling, a position that places you at the threshold between the world of the living and the realm of the eternal. Your workshop, the Wabet, the pure place, stands on the west bank of the Nile, where the sun dies each evening and is reborn each dawn. It is here, in this liminal space between light and darkness, between life and death, that you perform the most sacred work in all of Egypt. The morning air is heavy with the scent of cedar and myrrh. These fragrances never truly leave the Wabet. They have soaked into the limestone walls over decades, mingling with the sharper notes of natron salt and the earthy sweetness of palm wine. Your workspace is organized with the precision of a temple. Every tool has its place. Every implement has been blessed. Every surface has been ritually purified. The floor is swept clean each dawn. The walls are painted with protective spells and images of Anubis, the jackal-headed god who presides over all that you do. You have been preparing for this moment your entire life, though you did not know it would come so soon. You stand at your workbench, grinding resins in a stone mortar, when you hear the sound that changes everything. Footsteps. Running footsteps. Too fast for a normal day. Your hands still. Your heart knows before your mind does. The curtain parts. A royal messenger enters, his face pale despite the darkness of his skin, his breath coming in short gasps. He does not need to speak. The white linen wrapped around his arm tells you everything. White for death. White for mourning. White for the passage to the west. The pharaoh has gone west. Seti I, the great king, the living Horus, the son of Ra himself, has ceased to draw breath. The god has left his earthly vessel, and you, Nakht, have been summoned to perform the greatest work of your life. The messenger speaks the formal words, though they barely register. Your mind is already moving through the 70 days ahead, through each ritual, each prayer, each precise cut and careful wrapping. This is not simply the embalming of a king. This is the transformation of a god. This is the creation of an eternal being who will sail with Ra through the night sky, who will sit in judgment with Osiris, who will never know decay, never know the end of consciousness, never truly die. You feel the weight of this responsibility settle on your shoulders like a physical thing. It is not a burden, it is an honor beyond measure. How many embalmers in the entire history of Egypt have been chosen to prepare a pharaoh? How many hands have been trusted with the literal body of divinity? Your father performed this sacred duty once for Pharaoh Ramesses. Your grandfather for Horemheb. Now it is your turn. The sacred knowledge that flows in your blood, that was whispered to you in the darkness of the embalming chamber since you were a boy, must now be manifested in its highest form. You turn to your assistant, young Amenhotep, who has gone even paler than the messenger. Prepare the Ibu, you tell him, your voice steady despite the trembling in your chest. Gather the vessels. Bring the palm wine, the purest we have. Send word to the priests of Anubis. Tell them the god has need of us. You move to the sacred cabinet where your tools are kept. Each one is more than an instrument. Each one is a holy object, blessed by the high priests named in the ancient tongue, consecrated to this single purpose. The bronze adze for cutting, the obsidian blade black as night, sharp as the edge of creation itself, the iron hook slender and curved for the most delicate of procedures, the stone vessels for the oils, the measuring cups for the resins, the pestle and mortar for grinding the sacred incenses. As you gather these tools, wrapping each one carefully in clean linen, you recite the prayers your father taught you. Anubis, Lord of the sacred land, guide my hands. Anubis, opener of the ways, grant me clarity. Anubis, guardian of the scales, let my work be found true. I am your servant. My hands are your hands. My eyes are your eyes. Through me, you will shepherd this soul from the world of breath to the world of eternity. The sun is setting as you finish your preparations. Appropriate. The Pharaoh has died, and Ra himself seems to mourn, painting the sky in blood and gold. Tomorrow, the body will arrive. Tomorrow, the 70 days begin. Tonight, you must purify yourself. You must fast. You must pray. You must empty yourself of all that is mortal and temporary so that tomorrow, when you lay hands on the body of a god, you will be a pure vessel for the sacred work. You walk to the edge of the Nile as darkness falls. The water is black and silver, reflecting the first stars. You remove your garments and wade in. The water is cool, almost cold. It washes away the dust of the day, the sweat of your skin, the ordinary concerns of an ordinary life. When you emerge, you are no longer simply Nakht the man. You are Nakht the master of secrets. You are the hand of Anubis. You are the guardian of the threshold. You do not sleep that night. Instead, you sit in the Wabet, surrounded by your tools, and you remember. You remember being 7 years old, watching your father work. You remember the smell of natron and cedar. You remember the whispered prayers and the careful, reverent movements. You remember your father's hands, so steady, so certain. You remember him turning to you and saying, "This is not work for the faint of heart, my son. We do not work with flesh. We work with eternity. We do not serve men. We serve the gods themselves." Now, those words echo in your mind with the weight of prophecy fulfilled. Tomorrow, you will touch the flesh of Seti. Tomorrow, you will begin the work that will occupy every waking moment for 70 days. Tomorrow, the god will arrive, and you will be ready. The procession arrives at dawn. You hear it before you see it. The slow, rhythmic sound of feet on stone, the low chanting of priests, the high, keening wails of professional mourners. The sound grows louder, fills the morning air, becomes the only sound in the world. You stand at the entrance to the Ibu, the tent of purification, your hands folded, your head bowed, waiting. The litter appears, carried by 12 priests, all dressed in purest white. On it lies a shape covered in linen. Even shrouded, even still, there is something unmistakable about it. This is not the corpse of a farmer or a scribe. This is the earthly vessel of a god. The air itself seems to know it. The morning light falls differently here. The very stones of the ground seem to hum with significance. The priests lower the litter with infinite care. The high priest of Amun steps forward, his leopard skin draped over his shoulder, his face solemn. He speaks the ritual words. "Nakht, master of secrets, servant of Anubis, we deliver unto you the earthly form of Seti, beloved of the gods, king of Upper and Lower Egypt, strong bull, beloved of Maat. For 70 days he is yours. Make him eternal." You bow deeply. The gods will work through me. What arrives mortal will depart divine. The priests depart. The mourners fall silent and withdraw. Now it is only you, your assistants, and the body. This is the moment. This is when the sacred work truly begins. You enter the Ibu. It is a large tent, its walls made of linen so fine that light filters through, creating a soft, diffused glow. The floor is smooth limestone, carefully leveled with channels cut to drain away liquids. In the center is a low table, also limestone, angled slightly downward. At the head of the table is a carved image of Anubis. At the foot, an image of the goddess Nephthys. They will watch. They will guard. They will guide. Your assistants lift the body and place it gently on the table. You unwrap the temporary shroud, and there he is. Seti, the man who was a god, the god who was a man. He does not look peaceful. Death rarely brings peace to the face immediately. His features are slack. His skin has already begun to lose its color. His eyes are half open, glazed, seeing nothing. His mouth is slightly parted. He is naked except for a linen loincloth. You can see the places where age and time had begun their work, the slight loosening of the skin, the softening of muscle that even a pharaoh cannot escape in life. But you do not see these things with judgment. You see them with the eyes of an artist appraising raw material. This flesh, this temporary vessel, will be transformed. In 70 days, this mortal form will become something that transcends mortality entirely. The work begins now. First, the washing. This is not simply cleaning. This is the first act of transformation, the first prayer made manifest in action. You take a pitcher of Nile water, drawn this morning at dawn, blessed by the priests of Hapi, god of the inundation. The water is cool and clear. You pour it slowly over the body, starting at the head, moving down to the feet. The water runs over the cooling flesh, pools briefly in the hollows of the throat and stomach, then drains away through the channels in the table. As you pour, you recite the spell of purification. As the Nile renews the land, so does this water renew this flesh. As the floods bring life to Egypt, so does this blessing bring eternal life to Seti. May the impurity of death be washed away. May the pollution of the mortal world be cleansed. May this body be made pure for its journey west. Next comes the palm wine. This is stronger, sharper. The scent fills the tent, sweet and slightly acrid. You pour it as you poured the water, letting it wash over every part of the body. Wine for purification. Wine for preservation. Wine as an offering to the gods. The wine runs pink as it mixes with the last traces of blood and water. Your assistants dry the body with clean linen towels, patting gently, respectfully. Every touch is a prayer. Every movement is ritual. Nothing is done thoughtlessly. Nothing is done without purpose. Now comes the work that separates the master from the apprentice. The work that requires not just skill, but nerve. The work that many embalmers, even experienced ones, cannot perform without trembling. The removal of the brain. You pick up the iron hook. It is perhaps as long as your forearm, thin as a reed, with a small hook at one end that has been filed to perfect sharpness. This tool has been in your family for generations. Your great-grandfather forged it. Your grandfather sharpened it. Your father taught you to use it. Now it is yours, and it will perform its sacred function once more. The brain, you were taught, is not useful in the afterlife. It is the seat of mortal thought, temporary understanding, earthly concerns. In the field of reeds, the blessed dead think with their hearts, not their minds. The brain must be removed. It must be discarded. It serves no purpose in eternity. You position yourself at the head of the table. Amenhotep stands beside you, holding a bronze basin. You tilt the pharaoh's head back slightly, exposing the nostrils. You take a small copper probe first, the blunt one, and carefully insert it into the left nostril. You feel the slight resistance of the turbinate bones, the delicate structures of the nasal cavity. You push gently, firmly, feeling your way. There. You feel it. The cribriform plate, the thin shelf of bone that separates the nasal cavity from the brain cavity. This is the barrier you must breach. You withdraw the copper probe and take up the iron hook. This requires absolute steadiness, absolute focus. You cannot afford to think about what you are doing. You cannot afford to see this as violence. This is surgery. This is ritual. This is necessity. You insert the hook into the nostril, angling it upward and backward. You feel the point touch the bone. You apply pressure, not too much, just enough. There is a faint, sickening crunch. The bone breaks. You are through. The hook is now inside the skull. You begin to work carefully, methodically. The brain has the consistency of soft cheese. It does not come out whole. It cannot. You must break it apart, liquefy it, pull it out in pieces. You hook and pull, feeling the tissue tear, feeling fragments come away on the hook. You withdraw it, and tissue drops into the basin. Gray pink, formless. The substance that once held thoughts, memories, dreams, now reduced to mere matter. You repeat this process again and again. Hook, break, pull, withdraw. Hook, break, pull, withdraw. It is rhythmic, almost meditative. You do not think about what you are doing. You simply do it. This is muscle memory. This is training. This is devotion. After some time, when you judge that most of the brain has been removed, you take a different approach. You prepare a mixture of cedar oil and turpentine, warmed to body temperature. You pour this into the skull cavity through the nose. The liquids slosh inside, mixing with whatever brain tissue remains. You tilt the head to one side, then the other, swishing the oils inside the skull as you might swish wine in your mouth. The oils dissolve the remaining tissue, liquefying it, making it possible to drain. You position a large basin beneath the head, tilt the body face down and let the oils drain out. They come slowly, viscous, carrying with them the last remnants of the brain. The liquid that flows into the basin is thick and discolored. It smells of cedar and something else, something organic and faintly sweet. You do not flinch. You have smelled this before. You will smell it many times again. When the drainage slows to a trickle and then stops, you pack the skull cavity with linen soaked in more cedar oil. This will remain for now, ensuring complete dissolution of any remaining tissue, preventing any decay from starting inside the skull. Later, before the wrapping, you will remove this packing and leave the skull cavity empty, or fill it with resin. You step back. The first major procedure is complete. The pharaoh's brain, the seat of his mortal thoughts, has been removed. His skull is now an empty chamber, ready to be filled with divine consciousness in the afterlife. You look at the body. It is unchanged outwardly. There is no wound, no disfigurement. The face is serene. To look at it, you would not know that anything had been done at all. This is the art of your craft. To unmake the body while leaving it whole. To dismantle what is inside while preserving what is outside. To prepare for eternity while maintaining the illusion of life. The sun is high now. The work of day 2 is complete. But you do not rest. You cannot rest. Tomorrow comes the most complex procedure, the one that will test every bit of your skill. Tomorrow, you will open the body. Tomorrow, you will remove the organs. Tomorrow, the true unmaking begins. You stand before the body as the sun rises on the 3rd day. Today is the day that every embalmer both anticipates and dreads. Today is the day of evisceration. Today, you will open the pharaoh's body and remove the organs that made him mortal. You will separate what must be preserved from what must be discarded. You will reduce a man to his essential components and trust the gods to reassemble him in the afterlife. The 4 canopic jars are arranged on a table to your left. They are masterpieces of the sculptor's art, carved from the finest alabaster, each lid shaped like the head of one of the 4 sons of Horus. Seti, with the head of a man, will receive the liver. Happy, with the head of a baboon, will receive the lungs. Duamutef, with the head of a jackal, will receive the stomach. Kebesenuef, with the head of a falcon, will receive the intestines. Each jar has been inscribed with protective spells. Each jar has been consecrated. Each jar is, in its way, a small sarcophagus, a vessel of eternity for these vital organs. You have fasted since yesterday evening. Your hands have been washed 7 times. You have recited the prayers of opening. You are as pure as a mortal man can be. Now you must become something more. You must become the instrument of transformation itself. You pick up the obsidian blade. It is perhaps the length of your hand. Black as a moonless night, edges flaked to a sharpness that no bronze or copper can match. Obsidian is volcanic glass, born of fire and earth, sacred to Set, god of chaos and the desert. It is the only material sharp enough and pure enough to cut into the flesh of a god. The cut you are about to make is the only incision you will make on the entire body. One cut, one opening. Everything must be done through this single wound. This is the law. This is the tradition. This is the test of your skill. You place your left hand on the pharaoh's left flank, just above the hip, below the ribs. You can feel the coolness of the skin, the firm resistance of the abdominal wall beneath. You position the obsidian blade. You take a breath. You press down and pull in one smooth motion. The skin parts. The flesh beneath splits. You cut through skin, through fat, through the muscle wall. The incision is perhaps 4 inches long, angled slightly downward. It is deep, extending all the way into the abdominal cavity. Blood wells, but not much. The blood has pooled and thickened. It does not flow as it would in life. Through this opening, you will remove nearly everything inside the body. This is the paradox of your work. This small cut must become a portal to the body's entire interior. You set down the obsidian blade. You will not need it again. From this point forward, everything is done by hand, by hook, by careful manipulation. You reach into the incision with your right hand. The interior of the body is still warm, warmer than the exterior. There is a strange intimacy to this act. Your hand inside another human being, touching organs that were never meant to be touched. Feeling the slick surfaces of stomach and intestines, the firm density of the liver, the spongy texture of the lungs. You locate the stomach first. It is easier to remove than the other organs, sitting high and accessible. You hook your fingers around it, pull gently, feel it begin to separate from its moorings. There is connective tissue holding it in place. You tease this apart, slowly, carefully. You cannot tear, you cannot rip. Every movement must be controlled, deliberate, reverent. The stomach comes free. You withdraw your hand, bringing the organ with it, pulling it through the incision. It emerges into the light, slick and gray-purple. You place it in a bronze basin that Amenhotep holds ready. He carries it to the washing station. The washing of the organs is as important as the washing of the body. Each organ must be cleaned of all blood, all residue, all impurity. Amenhotep rinses the stomach in palm wine, then in Nile water, scrubbing gently with his fingers. The organ that once digested the pharaoh's food, that once sustained his mortal life, is now being prepared for its eternal rest. While he washes, you return to the body. Next, the intestines. These are more difficult. They are long, coiled, attached at multiple points. You reach in again, this time going deeper, your hand following the curves of the abdominal cavity. You locate the colon, the small intestine. You begin the delicate work of separating them from the mesentery, the membranous tissue that holds them in place. This takes time. You cannot rush. You work by feel as much as by sight. Your fingers are your eyes inside the body. You feel for the points of attachment. You find them. You separate them. Slowly, carefully, the intestines come free. You begin to withdraw them. They come out in loops, coil after coil, seemingly endless. You drape them over the edge of the basin. Amenhotep takes them, handling them with the same reverence he would handle sacred scrolls. He washes them, section by section, removing all content, all impurity. Back to the body. The liver now. This is one of the most important organs. The liver, the ancient texts tell us, is the seat of emotion, of passion, of love and hate. It must be preserved with special care. It is large, heavy, occupying much of the right side of the abdominal cavity. You reach in, your arm now deeper in the body than before. You feel the smooth, firm surface of the liver. You trace its edges, finding where it connects to the rest of the body. The liver is held in place by ligaments. You must cut these, but you have no blade inside the body. Instead, you use your fingers, hooking them, pulling, tearing gently at the connective tissue. It is slow work. Your arm begins to ache, but you persist. Finally, you feel the liver come free. It is heavy. You use both hands to guide it out through the incision. It barely fits. You have to angle it, rotate it, work it through the opening like a puzzle piece. It emerges. Dark red, almost purple, glistening wet. You place it in its own basin. This organ will go into Imseti's jar, under the protection of the goddess Isis. 3 organs removed. 1 remains inside the torso, the lungs. These are the most difficult. The lungs are in the chest cavity above the diaphragm. To reach them, you must cut through the diaphragm itself, working blind by feel alone. You reach up through the abdominal cavity, feeling for the firm muscular wall that separates abdomen from chest. You find it. You hook your fingers into it and pull. The tissue tears. You enlarge the tear, making an opening large enough for your hand to pass through. Now your hand is in the chest cavity. You can feel the hardness of the ribs surrounding you. You can feel the heart, still and silent, positioned slightly left of center. You do not touch the heart. The heart must remain. The heart is sacred. The heart is the seat of intelligence, of will, of the very essence of a person. In the afterlife, Seti's heart will be weighed against the feather of Ma'at. If his heart is light, free from sin, he will pass into eternal paradise. If his heart is heavy with wrongdoing, he will be devoured by Ammit, and his soul will be destroyed. The heart must remain in the body. This is absolute law. You feel past the heart, reaching for the lungs. The right lung first. It is spongy, soft, compressible. You work your fingers around it, finding its attachments to the chest wall and the bronchial tubes. You pull, tear, separate. The lung comes free. You withdraw it, bringing it down through the diaphragm, through the abdominal cavity, out through the incision. It is lighter than the liver, less substantial. You place it gently in a basin, then the left lung. The process repeats. Reach, feel, separate, withdraw. Now both lungs rest in the basin, looking strangely vulnerable, like birds fallen from the sky. Amenhotep has finished washing the first organs. They lie on clean linen, purified and ready. Now comes the treatment that will preserve them forever. You have prepared a mixture the night before. Natron dissolved in water to create a saturated solution. Natron is the key to everything you do. It is a natural salt, sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate mixed, found in the dried beds of ancient lakes in the western desert. It has the miraculous property of drawing water from organic matter, desiccating it completely, preventing decay. The Egyptians discovered this property generations ago, perhaps centuries. Now it is the foundation of your art. You submerge each organ in the natron solution, letting it soak. The natron will draw out the water, will penetrate the tissue, will begin the process of preservation. The organs will remain in this solution for 40 days, the same amount of time the body itself will spend in natron. As the organs soak, you return your attention to the body. The cavity is now empty except for the heart and the kidneys. The kidneys are small, tucked against the back wall of the abdomen. Many embalmers remove them. You choose to leave them. They are small enough, protected enough, that they will desiccate successfully with the rest of the body. More importantly, there is symbolism in leaving them. The kidneys filter the blood. In a sense, they purify the body. Let them remain as symbols of the purification the pharaoh is undergoing. You look into the empty cavity. You can see the spine, the inner surface of the ribs, the underside of the diaphragm. You can see the heart, suspended in its sac of pericardium, dark and still. This hollow space was once full of life, full of movement and function. Now it is empty. Now it is a vessel waiting to be prepared for eternity. You begin the cleansing of the interior. You pour palm wine directly into the body cavity, swishing it around, using your hands to scrub the inner surfaces. You drain it out through the incision. The wine runs pink with blood. You repeat this process 3 times. Then you use water, then wine again. Finally, the liquid that drains out runs clear. Now you prepare the temporary stuffing. This is a mixture of linen strips and natron powder. The body cavity must not be left empty during the 40 days of desiccation. It must be supported from within, prevented from collapsing. You pack the cavity loosely with the natron linen mixture, filling it from the pelvis up through the abdomen and into the chest. You do not pack it tightly. Air must circulate. The natron must touch all the inner surfaces. When the cavity is full, you take the flaps of skin around the incision and fold them closed. You do not sew them. Not yet. You simply bring the edges together and secure them with a small piece of linen tied loosely. The incision must remain partially open during the natron treatment to allow fluids to drain and moisture to escape. The evisceration is complete. The pharaoh's body is now a hollow vessel. His organs rest in natron baths, beginning their own journey to preservation. Tomorrow, the long wait begins. But first, you must complete the ritual of the canopic jars. After 40 days, when the organs have been completely desiccated, they will be removed from the natron bath, wrapped in linen, anointed with oils, and placed in their jars. But the jars must be prepared now. They must be blessed now. You take each jar in turn. You fill it with a mixture of natron and sawdust, creating a dry bed. You seal it temporarily with beeswax. As you seal each jar, you recite the protective spell. Seti, son of Horus, protected by Isis, I place the liver of Seti into your care. Guard it against decay. Guard it against corruption. Guard it until the day of resurrection, when this body shall be made whole again. Happy, son of Horus, protected by Nephthys, I place the lungs of Seti into your care. Let them draw breath again in the field of reeds. Let them fill with the air of eternity. Duamutef, son of Horus, protected by Neith, I place the stomach of Seti into your care. May it never know hunger in the afterlife. May it be satisfied with the offerings of the living. Kebesenuef, son of Horus, protected by Serket, I place the intestines of Seti into your care. May they process the food of the gods. May they grant strength for the journey through the Duat. The jars are sealed, blessed, placed in the sacred cabinet. They will remain there untouched for 40 days. You wash your hands, your arms, your face. You wash away the blood, the oils, the residue of the work. But you cannot wash away the weight of what you have done. You have opened the body of a pharaoh. You have touched his organs. You have begun the process of his transformation from man to God. This weight is not a burden. It is a privilege. It is the evidence of trust placed in you by the gods themselves. As evening falls, you stand in the doorway of the Wabet, looking west toward the cliffs where the Valley of the Kings lies hidden. Somewhere in those cliffs, a tomb is being prepared. Artisans are painting the walls with scenes from the Book of the Dead. Carpenters are constructing the nested shrines. Goldsmiths are hammering out the funerary mask. An entire kingdom is mobilizing to ensure that this pharaoh receives the burial he deserves. Your part in this great work has begun. 67 days remain. The unmaking is underway. Soon, the remaking will begin. But first, the desert must have its due. First, the natron must work its slow, patient magic. First, the water must be drawn from the flesh. must be given back to the earth, must be replaced with the eternal dryness of the sands. This is the only way. This is the ancient way. This is the way of the gods. On the fourth day, you perform the most dramatic and yet the simplest step of the entire process. You bury the pharaoh, not in earth, not in sand, but in natron, in the pure, white, crystalline salt of the desert. The natron has been delivered in large ceramic jars, each one sealed and marked. It comes from the Wadi Natrun, a dry lakebed west of the Nile Delta, a place of shimmering white deposits where the earth itself seems to have been distilled into purity. Natron is the gift of Set, god of the desert, god of storms and chaos. It seems fitting that the substance of preservation should come from the god of destruction. This is the eternal balance: death and life, chaos and order, desert and river. Your assistants empty the jars into a massive wooden vat that sits in the corner of the Wabet. The natron pours out in a fine white cascade, hissing softly as it falls. The pile grows until it stands waist-high. There is perhaps 500 pounds of natron here. It is not enough. You will need twice this amount at least. The pharaoh's body has been moved from the table to a broad, shallow bed carved from a single block of limestone. The bed is tilted slightly, angled to allow drainage. Around its edges, a raised lip will contain the natron and prevent it from spilling onto the floor. You and your assistants lift the body and place it on the bed. The pharaoh lies on his back, arms crossed over his chest, legs extended. His eyes have been closed. His jaw has been bound shut with a strip of linen to prevent it from falling open. He looks peaceful now, composed as if he is simply sleeping. But he is not sleeping. He is 3 days dead. The corruption has already begun, though it is not yet visible. Inside the body, bacteria are starting their work, breaking down tissue, producing gases. If this body were left untreated, within a week it would be unrecognizable. Within a month it would be skeletal. This is the horror of death. This is what your work prevents. You begin to pack the natron around the body. You start with the head, covering it completely, packing the salt gently but firmly into every curve and hollow. You fill the eye sockets, the ears, the mouth. You pack natron up the nostrils, replacing the linen plugs you had placed there after the brain removal. The head disappears beneath a white mask of salt. You move down to the body. You lift the arms and pack natron underneath. You spread the legs slightly and pack natron between them. You pay special attention to the groin, the armpits, the spaces between the toes and fingers. These are places where moisture collects, where decay begins first. These must be completely surrounded by natron. You open the incision in the left flank and pack natron directly into the body cavity, adding to the natron linen mixture already there. The interior must be as dry as the exterior. Death must be driven out from within as thoroughly as from without. Layer by layer, you cover the body. The chest disappears. The abdomen. The legs. You use your hands to shape the natron to ensure complete contact with every part of the skin. This is meditative work. There is no skill required now, only patience, only thoroughness. Your mind begins to wander. You think about Seti, not as a pharaoh, not as a god, but as a man. What was he like in life? You saw him once, years ago, during a festival procession. He sat high on his golden throne, carried by priests, his double crown gleaming in the sun. He looked out over his subjects with eyes that seemed to see everything and nothing. He was already more God than man then, already distant, already eternal. But here, beneath your hands, he is flesh. He is matter. He is a body that will decay unless you prevent it. The crown does not protect against death. The power of kingship does not slow the work of corruption. In death, all men are equal. All men require the same care, the same rituals, the same salt. Yet this is a pharaoh. This is the living Horus, the son of Ra. the divine ruler of the two lands. Your work here is not just preservation, it is transformation. You are not simply preventing decay, you are facilitating resurrection. Every grain of natron you pack around this body is a prayer. Every moment of contact is a ritual. You are the intermediary between death and rebirth. You are the hand of the gods made manifest. When the body is completely covered, you add more natron. You pile it on until the pharaoh is buried beneath a small white mountain. Only the foot of the limestone bed is visible. The body itself has vanished completely. You smooth the surface of the natron with your hands, creating a level top. Then you take a bronze stylus and inscribe protective symbols in the salt. The Ankh, the Djed pillar, the name of Anubis in hieroglyphs. These symbols will guard the body during its long sleep. Finally, you take a clean linen sheet and drape it over the entire pile. The sheet is not to keep the natron in place. It is symbolic. It represents the shroud of death, the veil between worlds. Beneath this shroud, transformation is happening. Beneath this shroud, mortality is being conquered. You step back. The work is done. Now begins the waiting. The days that follow are strange. The Wabet, usually a place of constant activity, becomes quiet. The pharaoh's body lies in its bed of salt, silent and still. There is nothing for you to do but wait. The natron is working, but its work is invisible, patient, inexorable. It draws moisture from the flesh one molecule at a time. It desiccates. It preserves. It transforms. But you cannot simply leave. You cannot abandon the body, even for a day. You are its guardian. You are its protector. The spells and incantations must be maintained. The prayers must be recited. The watch must be kept. You establish a routine. Each morning at dawn, you enter the Wabet. You approach the shrouded mound of natron. You lift the linen sheet and inspect the surface. You look for any signs of seepage, any discoloration that might indicate fluids leaking from the body. In the first days, there is always some moisture. The natron at the surface becomes damp, clumps together. This is expected. This is good. It means the salt is doing its work, pulling water from the tissues. When you find damp natron, you scrape it away and replace it with fresh, dry salt from the vat. You do this carefully, systematically, ensuring that the body remains completely surrounded. You cannot see the body anymore. You work by memory, by instinct, knowing where the head is, where the torso lies, where the limbs extend. After inspecting and replenishing the natron, you perform the prayers. These are ancient prayers, passed down through generations of embalmers, some so old that you do not fully understand the words. But you speak them anyway. You speak them because they have power. You speak them because they have been spoken over thousands of bodies across thousands of years. You speak them because they work. Anubis, Lord of the sacred land, watch over this body. Protect it from corruption. Protect it from decay. Let not the worm touch it. Let not rot consume it. Let it dry as the desert dries. Let it become eternal as the desert is eternal. Osiris, Lord of the dead, accept this servant. He comes to you purified. He comes to you transformed. Prepare a place for him in your kingdom. Prepare a seat for him at your table. Let him sail with Ra through the night. Let him rise with Ra at dawn. You burn incense as you pray, frankincense and myrrh. The smoke rises in thin, fragrant spirals, filling the Wabet with a sweet, resinous smell that mingles with the sharper scent of the natron. The smoke is an offering to the gods. It is also practical. It masks the other smells, the faint odor of decay that lingers in the early days before the natron completes its work. After the prayers, you tend to the organs. The liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines remain in their natron baths, sealed in bronze vessels. Every few days you open the vessels and inspect the organs. Like the body, they are desiccating, shrinking, hardening. The liver, once dark and glistening, becomes brown and leathery. The lungs collapse, their spongy tissue compressing into dense, fibrous masses. The stomach shrivels. The intestines transform into hard, rope-like structures. You replace the natron in the baths regularly, ensuring that it remains dry and effective. The organs must be as thoroughly preserved as the body itself. They will be needed in the afterlife. The pharaoh must be complete. The days pass slowly. You count them carefully, marking each one with a small notch on a wooden stick. 1 day becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. The work is monotonous, repetitive. But you do not grow bored. You cannot afford boredom. This is sacred time. This is the period of transformation. Every day that passes, the pharaoh moves further from life and closer to eternity. You are not alone in the Wabet. Your assistants come and go, bringing supplies, helping with the daily maintenance of the natron. Amenhotep is with you every day, learning, watching, asking questions. He is young, perhaps 20 years old, and this is his first royal embalming. He is nervous, uncertain, desperate to do everything correctly. You teach him as your father taught you, not through lengthy explanations, but through example, through observation, through the quiet repetition of correct action. You show him how to test the natron for moisture, how to scrape away the damp salt without disturbing the body beneath, how to add fresh natron with just the right pressure, firm enough to make good contact but gentle enough not to damage the desiccating tissue. "Why 40 days in the natron?" Amenhotep asks one morning. "Why not 30? Why not 50? You smile. It is a good question. It is the question every apprentice asks. "Because 40 is the sacred number," you tell him. 40 days the Nile floods. 40 days the star Sothis is hidden below the horizon. 40 days is the period of transformation, of death and rebirth. It is not a guess. It is not tradition. It is cosmic law. The body needs exactly 40 days to dry completely. Less, and moisture remains, and decay will begin after burial. More, and the body becomes too brittle, too fragile. 40 days is perfect. The gods revealed this number to us. We simply obey. Amenhotep nods, satisfied. He's learning. In time, perhaps in many years, he will stand where you stand now. He will be the master of secrets. He will perform this work on another pharaoh, or on nobles and priests, and he will pass the knowledge on to his own son or apprentice. This is how the sacred knowledge survives. This is how the tradition continues. As the days turn into weeks, you notice changes in yourself. You become calmer, more centered. The daily rituals ground you. The prayers become meditations. The simple, repetitive work of tending the natron becomes a form of communion with the divine. You are living in liminal time, in the space between life and death. The ordinary world seems distant. The concerns of daily life fade. You eat when you are hungry, but you do not think about food. You sleep when you are tired, but you do not dream. Your entire existence has narrowed to this single purpose, guarding and guiding this body through its transformation. Visitors come occasionally. The high priest of Amun arrives to inspect the work. He lifts the linen shroud, looks at the mound of natron, nods approvingly. He does not speak. There is nothing to say. The work is proceeding as it should. The gods are satisfied. The queen comes once, heavily veiled, surrounded by attendants. She does not enter the Wabet. She stands at the threshold looking in. You bow deeply. She asks, in a voice barely above a whisper, "Does he suffer?" It is an odd question. The pharaoh is dead. The dead do not suffer. But you understand what she is really asking. She is asking if the process is violent, if it is cruel, if her husband's body is being treated with reverence. "Great lady," you reply, "he rests peacefully. He feels nothing. The gods watch over him. In 40 days he will emerge from this cocoon transformed, perfected, ready for eternity. There is no suffering here. There is only preparation." She nods. A single tear runs down her cheek, visible even through the veil. Then she turns and leaves, her attendants following. You never see her again. The days continue. The natron continues its slow, patient work. By the 20th day, the moisture has stopped seeping to the surface. The natron remains dry. This is the sign that the bulk of the water has been extracted, but you do not disturb the body. It must remain buried for the full 40 days. This is the rule. This is the law. You use this time to prepare the materials you will need for the next phase. You inventory the linen, hundreds of yards of it in strips of various widths, some fine as silk for wrapping the fingers and toes, some coarse as sackcloth for the outer layers. All of it must be clean, must be consecrated, must be worthy of touching the body of a god. You prepare the oils and resins. Cedar oil from Lebanon, imported at great expense. Myrrh from Punt, worth more than gold. Frankincense, juniper oil, cassia, cinnamon. Each substance has a purpose. Each contributes to the preservation and the sanctification of the body. You grind the resins in a stone mortar, reducing them to fine powders. You strain the oils through linen, removing any impurities. You heat them gently, mixing them according to ancient formulae, creating complex unguents that fill the Wabet with their rich, intoxicating fragrances. You also prepare the amulets. You have dozens of them, some passed down through your family, some commissioned specifically for this burial. They are made of precious materials: gold, lapis lazuli, carnelian, turquoise, obsidian. Each one has been carved with sacred symbols, inscribed with protective spells. There are scarab beetles and djed pillars, ankhs and eyes of Horus, figures of gods and goddesses. These will be placed at specific locations on the body during the wrapping, each one adding its own layer of magical protection. On the 35th day, something unexpected happens. A messenger arrives from the tomb in the Valley of the Kings. There has been a collapse in one of the corridors. A section of the ceiling has fallen, crushing some of the decorations, filling the passage with rubble. The tomb will not be ready in time. The burial must be delayed. This is a crisis. The entire schedule is built around the 70-day period. On day 70, the funeral must occur. On day 70, the body must be placed in the tomb. This is cosmic timing. This cannot be disrupted. But the messenger brings instructions from the high priest. You are to continue your work as planned. The tomb workers will labor day and night to repair the damage. The tomb will be ready. It must be ready. The gods demand it. You are relieved, but also troubled. A collapsed tomb is a bad omen. It suggests that the gods are displeased, or that malevolent forces are at work, trying to prevent the pharaoh's resurrection. You increase the frequency of your prayers. You burn more incense. You redouble your vigilance, watching for any signs of corruption, any indication that the body is not being properly preserved. But the natron does not fail. The body continues its transformation, undisturbed by the troubles in the tomb. On the 40th day, you wake before dawn. This is the day. This is when the body emerges from the desert's embrace. You feel both excitement and dread. You have done this before, many times, but never with a pharaoh. Never with stakes this high. What if something has gone wrong? What if the natron has not worked as it should? What if the body has decayed despite your precautions? You perform the morning prayers with special intensity. You make offerings at the small shrine to Anubis in the corner of the Wabet. You wash yourself ritually, purifying yourself for the work ahead. Then, as the sun rises, you approach the natron mound. You lift the linen shroud. You fold it carefully, placing it aside. The natron beneath is pure white, completely dry. This is a good sign. You begin to remove the salt, using your hands and a bronze scoop. You work carefully, revealing the body layer by layer. The feet emerge first, then the legs, the torso, the arms, the head, and there he is, Seti, the pharaoh, transformed. He is unrecognizable. That is your first thought. This is no longer the body of the man you began working on 40 days ago. This is something else, something new, something that exists in a state between life and death, between mortal and divine. The body has shrunk dramatically. The natron has drawn out perhaps 30 pounds of water, perhaps more. The skin has pulled tight against the bones, creating sharp angles where there were once curves. The face is gaunt, skeletal. The cheeks have collapsed inward. The eye sockets are deep hollows. The lips have drawn back from the teeth in a rictus that could be mistaken for a smile or a grimace. The skin itself has changed color and texture. It was once the warm brown of living flesh. Now it is dark, almost black in places, leathery and hard. It looks more like old papyrus than human skin. When you touch it, it feels dry, stiff, almost brittle. There is no give to it, no softness. It is like touching wood or stone. The body has also flattened. Without water to fill out the tissues, everything has collapsed. The chest is sunken. The abdomen is concave. The incision you made now looking like a dark, vertical crack in the torso. The arms and legs are thin, stick-like. The fingers and toes are curled, the tendons having contracted as they dried. This is not beautiful. This is not the idealized, peaceful rest that you see depicted on tomb walls. This is the reality of death, the reality that all the poetry and religion try to obscure. This is a mummy in its raw state, before the artistry, before the magic, before the transformation is complete. But you are not dismayed. This is exactly what should happen. This is what success looks like. The body is completely desiccated. There is no moisture left. No bacteria can grow in this environment. No decay can take hold. This body, in its current state, will last not just years, but centuries. Millennia, perhaps. Forever, if the tomb remains sealed and undisturbed. You call Amenhotep and your other assistants. Together, you lift the body from the bed of natron. It is shockingly light. A man who weighed perhaps 160 pounds in life now weighs perhaps 100. The water is gone. What remains is the enduring essence, the eternal structure. You carry the body to a clean table, draped with fresh linen. You lay the pharaoh on his back, arranging his limbs carefully. The body is stiff, resistant to movement. The joints have locked in place during the drying process. You must be gentle but firm, persuading the limbs into the proper position without breaking anything. Now comes one of the most delicate phases of the work. You must remove the temporary stuffing from the body cavity and replace it with permanent materials. You reach into the incision, pulling out the natron linen mixture you packed there 40 days ago. It comes out in clumps, completely saturated with dried fluids, discolored and unpleasant. You discard this material. It has served its purpose. The interior of the body cavity is now completely dry. The surfaces are hard and leathery. You can see the spine clearly, the inner surface of the ribs, the shrunken heart still in its place. The heart has desiccated like everything else. It is small now, hard, dark, but it is intact. This is what matters. The heart must be present for the judgment in the hall of May-At. Now you must rebuild what the natron has unmade. The body must have form, must have shape, must look human again. You cannot have a pharaoh entering the afterlife looking like a shriveled husk. The gods expect perfection. The living expect to see their king restored to divine beauty. You begin to prepare the new stuffing. This is a complex mixture. The base is sawdust from the wood of the persea tree, sacred to the gods. Mixed with this is crushed myrrh, adding fragrance and additional preservation. You add dried lotus petals, symbolic of rebirth. You add small chips of natron to maintain the dryness. You add linen scraps to give the mixture structure and cohesion. But this is not simply packing material. This must be applied with the eye and hand of a sculptor. You must rebuild the pharaoh's form from the inside, restoring the shape of his body, recreating the contours that the natron destroyed. You begin with the chest. You pack the mixture carefully, filling the thoracic cavity, building it up until the ribs no longer show. You shape it, using your hands to mold the stuffing through the incision, creating the rounded form of a healthy torso. You work slowly, frequently stepping back to assess the shape from the outside, adding more here, removing a bit there, sculpting by feel and by eye. The abdomen is next. This is easier. You fill it, packing the mixture firmly but not tightly. Too loose and the form will be wrong. Too tight and you risk tearing the dried skin. You build up the abdominal wall, recreating the slight curve that a man's belly should have. You extend the stuffing down into the pelvis, filling every space. The body must have no voids, no empty spaces where collapse might occur or where corruption might somehow, impossibly, begin. When the torso is complete, you turn your attention to the limbs. The arms and legs have become thin, the muscles wasted away during the desiccation. You cannot add stuffing inside the limbs, but you can build up the exterior. You prepare a paste made from sawdust and resin, heated until it becomes pliable. You spread this paste on the arms and legs, applying it in layers, building up the wasted tissues, recreating the musculature. This requires an artist's eye. You must know anatomy. You must understand how muscles attach to bones, how they create the forms and contours of the human body. You work slowly, shaping the paste with wooden tools, smoothing it with your fingers, building up the biceps, the triceps, the muscles of the thighs and calves. The work is painstaking. Hours pass. The sun moves across the sky. You do not stop. You do not rest. This is the most crucial phase of the restoration. Get this wrong, and the pharaoh will look deformed, monstrous. Get this right, and he will look like a man again. A thin man, yes, but recognizably human, recognizably royal. As you work, you talk to the body. This may seem strange, may seem like madness, but it is something all embalmers do. The body is not just an object. It is a person. It was a person. It will be a person again in the afterlife. You speak to reassure the soul, wherever it may be hovering, watching your work. Great Seti, you murmur, I am rebuilding you. I am remaking you. Be patient. Soon you will be beautiful again. Soon you will be perfect. Your subjects will see you and weep with joy. The gods will see you and welcome you as one of their own. Trust me. Trust my hands. I am guided by Anubis. I am inspired by the gods. The face requires special attention. The face is what people will see. The face is what must look peaceful, regal, divine. But the face has suffered perhaps more than any other part of the body. The cheeks have collapsed completely. The eyes have sunken deep into the skull. The nose has flattened. The lips have drawn back. You cannot inject stuffing into the face. The skin is too delicate, too thin. Instead, you must work from the outside. You prepare a special paste, finer than what you used on the limbs, made from powdered resin and the finest sawdust, almost like flour. You apply this to the face in the thinnest layers, building up the cheeks, filling out the hollows around the eyes, reshaping the nose. You take small wads of linen, soak them in resin, and carefully insert them under the eyelids, giving the eyes some shape, some presence. You pack more resin-soaked linen into the nostrils, restoring the nose to its proper form. You work around the mouth, filling out the lips, softening the death grimace into something more neutral, more peaceful. This work takes hours. The light begins to fade. You call for lamps. The work continues by lamplight, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. Your eyes ache, your back aches, your hands are stained black with resin. But you cannot stop, not until the face is right. Finally, near midnight, you step back. You look at your work. The pharaoh lies before you, transformed once again. He is still thin, still darkened by the natron, still clearly not alive. But he has form now. He has shape. He looks human. More than that, he looks regal. The work you have done has restored not just his body, but his dignity. You are exhausted. You have been working for nearly 18 hours without stopping, but you feel a deep satisfaction. The unmaking is complete. Tomorrow, the remaking continues. Tomorrow, you will anoint the body with the sacred oils, will begin the process of sealing the skin, of creating the golden, divine surface that will carry the Pharaoh into eternity. You cover the body with a clean linen sheet. You say the evening prayers. You thank Anubis for guiding your hands. Then, finally, you allow yourself to rest. You lie down on a reed mat in the corner of the Wabet. You are too tired to walk home. You will sleep here near the body, keeping watch even in your dreams. As sleep takes you, your last thought is a prayer. Let the gods be pleased with this work. Let them find it acceptable. Let this Pharaoh rise again in glory. The next 9 days are dedicated to anointing. This is when the body receives the oils and resins that will preserve it, protect it, and transform its appearance from the dark, leathery husk to the golden, divine form of a god. You begin on the morning of day 42 with the ritual of opening. The incision on the left flank has remained partially open during the natron treatment. Now you must decide whether to seal it or leave it open for the final wrapping. Tradition varies. Some embalmers sew the incision closed with linen thread. Others seal it with resin. You choose a middle path. You bring the edges of the incision together and pack the opening with small wads of linen soaked in molten resin. The resin hardens quickly, creating a seal that is both secure and sacred. You press a small gold plate over the incision, embossed with the image of the Eye of Horus. This plate will remain in place through the wrapping, a symbol of healing and protection. Now the anointing begins. You have prepared several large bowls of oil mixtures, each one formulated for a specific purpose. The first is cedar oil, rich and dark with a sharp, clean scent that fills the Wabet. Cedar is sacred, imported from the great forests of Lebanon. It is expensive, precious, worth more than silver. But for a pharaoh, only the finest materials will suffice. You pour some of the cedar oil into your hands, warm it between your palms, and begin to massage it into the skin of the pharaoh's feet. The oil is absorbed immediately. The dried skin drinks it in like the desert drinks the rare rain. You work methodically, covering every inch of the feet, between the toes, around the ankles. The skin begins to change as you work. It becomes slightly more pliable, less brittle. The color lightens slightly, the harsh black softening to a deep brown. You move up the legs, massaging the oil into the shins, the calves, the thighs. You use long, firm strokes, working the oil deep into the tissue. This is not merely coating the surface. This is impregnation, saturation, transformation. The cedar oil has antiseptic properties. It will prevent any possibility of decay. But more than that, it has spiritual properties. It purifies. It sanctifies. It is the oil of eternity. The work is physical, demanding. Your hands grow slick with oil. Your arms begin to tire. But you do not stop. You continue up the body, anointing the torso, the arms, the hands. You pay special attention to the hands, massaging oil into each finger individually, working it around the nails, into the creases of the palms. When the front of the body is complete, you and your assistants carefully turn the body over. The skin is still stiff, and you must work slowly to avoid tearing or cracking it. With the body face down, you anoint the back, the buttocks, the backs of the legs. No part of the skin can be missed. Every surface must receive the blessing of the oil. The face is the most delicate work. You pour a small amount of oil into your palm and apply it with your fingertips, using the lightest touch. You work the oil into the forehead, the cheeks, the chin. You anoint the nose, the ears, the lips. You are so close to the face that you can see every detail, every texture of the dried skin. It is intimate work, almost uncomfortable, but it is necessary. The face, above all, must be perfect. The first anointing, with cedar oil alone, takes the entire day. When it is complete, the body has changed noticeably. The skin has softened, darkened to a rich, deep brown. It gleams in the lamplight, reflecting a subtle luster that was not there before. The body is beginning to look less like a mummy and more like a statue, carved from precious wood. But the work is far from over. The body must receive multiple anointings, each one adding its own properties, its own blessings. On day 43, you prepare the second anointing mixture. This one is based on myrrh oil, mixed with crushed lotus flowers and powdered frankincense. Myrrh is even more precious than cedar. It comes from the land of Punt, at the edge of the known world, carried by ships that braved the treacherous waters of the Red Sea. Myrrh is the fragrance of the gods themselves. When the gods are pleased, it is said, their bodies exude the scent of myrrh. You anoint the body again, using the same methodical process, covering every inch of skin. The myrrh oil is thicker than the cedar, more viscous. It clings to the skin, forming a second layer over the first. The fragrance is overwhelming, sweet and spicy, filling not just the Wabet but the entire area around it. People passing outside the workshop smell it and know that sacred work is being done within. On day 44, the third anointing. This mixture includes juniper oil for purification, mixed with cassia and cinnamon. These are warm spices, bringing heat, bringing life, counteracting the coldness of death. You anoint the body again, your hands moving over familiar territory now, knowing every contour, every surface. On day 45, the fourth anointing. This one is different. This is resin, not oil. You have melted resin from the terebinth tree, mixing it with beeswax to give it the right consistency. This mixture is applied warm, almost hot. It is thick, sticky, difficult to work with, but it is essential. The resin will harden as it cools, forming a protective shell over the skin. It will seal in the oils beneath it. It will create a barrier against time itself. You paint the resin onto the body with a brush made of papyrus fibers. You work quickly, because the resin begins to harden within minutes. You must cover the entire body before the resin in your pot solidifies. It is urgent, intense work. Your heart pounds. Sweat drips from your forehead despite the relative coolness of the morning. But you succeed. The entire body is coated. The resin gleams, black and glossy like obsidian. The body must rest now while the resin hardens completely. This takes a full day. You spend day 46 in prayer and preparation, organizing the materials for the wrapping phase, which will begin soon. You also tend to the organs again. The liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines have spent 42 days in their natron baths. They are now completely desiccated, hard as wood. You remove them from the baths, brush off the excess natron, and begin their individual treatments. Each organ is washed in palm wine, then in water, then dried with linen. Each organ is anointed with cedar oil and myrrh, just as the body has been. Each organ is wrapped carefully in linen strips, creating small bundles that will eventually be placed in the canopic jars. As you wrap the liver, you recite the spell of Seti I. I am Seti, son of Horus. I protect the liver of Seti. I guard it against corruption. I preserve it for eternity. When Seti rises in the afterlife, his liver shall be returned to him, whole and perfect. The same for the other organs, each with its own protective spell, each wrapped with the same care and reverence you give to the body itself. On day 47, you return to the body for the fifth anointing. This one is unique. This is when you apply the golden oil. The golden oil is not actually gold, though it is nearly as precious. It is a mixture of saffron, turmeric, and other rare spices dissolved in oil, creating a liquid that is brilliant yellow, almost orange. When this oil is applied over the black resin coating, something magical happens. The color transforms. The darkness is tempered by the gold. The surface takes on a rich, warm glow, like bronze, like the sun at sunset, like the skin of Ra himself. You apply the golden oil with reverence bordering on awe. Each stroke of the brush is a prayer. Each coating is a blessing. You are not simply coloring the body. You are transforming it into divine substance. You are creating the eternal body, the body of light, the body that will exist in the field of reeds where the sun always shines and death has no power. The transformation is stunning. As the golden oil dries, the body begins to shimmer. Light seems to radiate from the skin. The pharaoh no longer looks like a corpse, no longer looks like a preserved body. He looks like a statue of a god, crafted from precious materials, too beautiful, too perfect to be merely human. You step back, and for a moment, you forget to breathe. This is why you do this work. This is the moment that makes the blood and the smells and the exhaustion worthwhile. You have taken death and made it beautiful. You have taken corruption and made it eternal. You have taken a man and made him a god. Days 48, 49, and 50 are spent in final preparations. You apply additional thin layers of resin and oil, building up a deep, lustrous finish. You pay special attention to the face, adding delicate touches of color. A hint of red on the lips, made from crushed carnelian mixed with oil. A darkening around the eyes, made from coal, giving the face definition, character. These are subtle touches, barely noticeable individually, but collectively they bring life to the features. The face looks peaceful now, serene, slightly smiling. It is the face of a king at rest, the face of a god awaiting resurrection. You also prepare the head for the final stage. The brain cavity, empty since day 2, must be sealed. You tilt the head back and pour molten resin directly into the skull through the nostrils. The resin flows down, filling the cavity, settling in the base of the skull. When it hardens, it will provide stability, will prevent any collapse of the skull. Behind you comes the new pharaoh, the son who is now king. He walks barefoot, his head shaved in mourning, his chest bare and scarred from ritual beating. He weeps openly, genuine tears mixing with the ceremonial grief. Behind him walks the royal family, the queen mother heavily veiled, the princes and princesses, the wives and children. All in white, all mourning. Behind the royal family come the nobles of the court, hundreds of them, each one dressed according to their rank. Then the soldiers, the pharaoh's personal guard, marching in perfect formation, their weapons reversed in salute to their fallen commander. Then the craftsmen who built the tomb, the artists who decorated it, the priests of every temple in Thebes, and, finally, the common people, thousands upon thousands of them, ordinary Egyptians who have come to bid farewell to their god-king. The procession moves through the city, past the great temples of Karnak and Luxor, past the palaces and administrative buildings, past the markets and houses. At every intersection, more people join. At every temple, priests emerge to add their voices to the chanting, to swing censers of smoking incense, to pour libations of milk and wine on the ground before the sledge. The sound is like nothing you have ever heard. Thousands of voices wailing in unison, the clashing of sistra, the sacred rattles of the goddess Hathor, the beating of drums, the chanting of prayers. The entire city is united in this moment, all focused on this single purpose, to honor their king, to speed his soul to the afterlife, to ensure his eternal rest. The procession reaches the Nile. A great barge waits at the dock, painted white and gold, its prow carved in the shape of a falcon, Horus himself. The mummy and its sledge are loaded onto the barge with infinite care. The canopic chest is placed beside it. You and the other embalmers and priests board the barge. The royal family boards a second barge. The nobles and officials board others. Soon, a fleet of boats fills the river, white sails catching the morning breeze. The boats begin to move, gliding across the Nile from the east bank to the west. The crossing is symbolic. The east is the land of the living, where the sun rises, where life begins each day. The west is the land of the dead, where the sun sets, where souls go to rest. The Pharaoh is crossing from one world to the other, from mortality to eternity. You stand at the prow of the barge, watching the west bank approach. The cliffs of the Theban hills rise before you, golden in the morning light. Somewhere in those cliffs, hidden in a secret valley, the tomb waits. You have never seen it. The location is known only to a few, kept secret to prevent robbery. But you know it is there, carved deep into the living rock, its walls covered with the texts and images that will guide the pharaoh through the underworld. The boats reach the west bank. The procession reforms. Now the way leads up from the river into the desert toward the cliffs. The path is steep, difficult, the 12 priests pulling the sledge strain with the effort. Their white robes darken with sweat, but they do not falter. This is their sacred duty. This is their honor. As the procession climbs, you look back at the Nile, at the green fields of Egypt stretching along its banks, at the city of Thebes with its temples and palaces. From this height, you can see the entire world you know, the narrow strip of life sustained by the river, surrounded on all sides by the vast, eternal desert. Egypt is a miracle, a gift of the gods, a thin ribbon of fertility in an ocean of sand. And you are walking away from it, into the desert, into death, escorting your king to his final rest. The procession enters the Valley of the Kings. This is a desolate place, a wadi carved by ancient floods, surrounded by towering cliffs. The valley floor is rock and sand, baked by the relentless sun. There is no vegetation here, no water, no life, only tombs. The tombs of the great pharaohs of the past, hidden beneath the ground, sealed and secret. This is the most sacred place in all of Egypt. This is the doorway to eternity. The procession halts before a newly cut entrance in the cliff face. This is it. This is the tomb of Seti. The entrance is modest, just a rectangular opening in the rock, barely taller than a man. But beyond that entrance lie wonders. Beyond that entrance lies the culmination of years of work by hundreds of artisans. Beyond that entrance lies the pharaoh's eternal home. The 12 priests lower the sledge to the ground. Other priests come forward and lift the coffin from the sledge. It takes 8 men to carry it. So heavy is it with the mummy and all its adornments inside. They carry it to the entrance of the tomb. There they pause. The high priest of Amun steps forward. He raises his arms, his voice rising in the final prayer of the funeral. Osiris, Lord of the West, accept this soul. Ra, Lord of the Sun, take him into your bark. Anubis, Lord of Embalming, guide him through the darkness. Thoth, Lord of Wisdom, speak for him in the judgment. Horus, Lord of the Sky, grant him resurrection. Isis and Nephthys, protect him on his journey. All you gods of the Ennead, all you gods of the Ogdoad, all you gods of the heavens and the earth and the underworld, receive this king. He comes to you purified. He comes to you transformed. He comes to you as one of you, a god among gods, eternal and perfect. The priests respond in thunderous unison. Receive him, welcome him, grant him eternal life. Then the coffin is carried into the tomb, disappearing into the darkness beyond the entrance. You and the other embalmers follow, carrying the canopic chest. The new pharaoh and the royal family follow. The nobles follow. The procession files into the tomb, descending into the earth. The tomb is magnificent. You knew it would be, but the reality exceeds all expectation. The walls are covered with paintings, brilliantly colored, depicting the journey of the sun through the 12 hours of the night, the trials of the underworld, The judgment before Osiris, the emergence into eternal day. The ceiling is painted deep blue, covered with golden stars. The hieroglyphic texts of the Amduat, the Book of Gates, the Book of Caverns cover every surface, providing the knowledge the pharaoh will need to navigate the afterlife. The procession descends through corridors and chambers, going deeper and deeper into the earth. The air grows cooler, stiller. The sounds of the outside world fade. You are in the realm of the dead now, in the space between worlds, in the sacred heart of the earth. Finally, you reach the burial chamber. It is a vast space, its walls painted with scenes from the Book of the Dead. In the center of the chamber stands the sarcophagus, a massive box of red granite, carved from a single stone, its surface covered with protective spells. The lid of the sarcophagus lies beside it, waiting. Around the sarcophagus, nested like a series of boxes, are 4 gilded wooden shrines, each one more magnificent than the last. The innermost shrine is open, revealing the coffin of Seti within it. But that coffin, the outer coffin, must contain 2 more coffins inside it, each one smaller, more precious, more elaborately decorated than the one before. The mummy itself, in its wrappings and golden mask, will rest in the innermost coffin, made of solid gold. The priests place the outer coffin inside the innermost shrine. Then they bring forward the middle coffin, already prepared, waiting in the tomb. This coffin is made of gilded wood, carved to represent the pharaoh as Osiris, wrapped in the traditional tight shroud, holding the crook and flail. The face on this coffin is inlaid with colored glass and semi-precious stones, so realistic it seems almost alive. The outer coffin is opened. The mummy in its golden mask is lifted out carefully, reverently, and placed inside the middle coffin. You catch a final glimpse of your work, the golden face shining in the lamplight. Then the lid of the middle coffin is lowered, and the face is hidden. The middle coffin is placed inside the inner coffin, which is made of solid gold, 200 pounds of it, worth a pharaoh's ransom. This is the final resting place of the mummy, the golden sanctuary from which Seti will emerge on the day of resurrection. The lid of the golden coffin is lowered and sealed. The lid of the middle coffin is lowered and sealed. The lid of the outer coffin is lowered and sealed. Then the doors of the 4 shrines are closed, one by one, each one sealed with clay stamped with the royal seal. The seals are spells in themselves, magical barriers that will protect the mummy from any threat. Now comes the filling of the tomb. The priests have brought cartloads of treasures, the goods the pharaoh will need in the afterlife. Golden furniture, chairs and beds and chests, golden chariots, golden shrines containing statues of the gods, chests full of clothing, of jewelry, of cosmetics, weapons and armor, writing implements, games, models of servants who will magically come to life in the afterlife to serve the pharaoh, jars of wine and oil, baskets of food, everything he could possibly need or want, provided in abundance. The canopic chest is placed in a special niche, carved in the wall just for this purpose. The 4 jars inside the chest, containing the pharaoh's organs, will rest here, protected by the same spells, the same magic that protects the body itself. The filling of the tomb takes hours. More and more treasures are brought in, carried down the long corridors, placed carefully in the burial chamber and the antechambers. The wealth accumulated is staggering, the product of an entire reign, the tribute of an entire empire now buried in the earth, hidden forever from the world of the living. Finally, it is done. The tomb is full. The pharaoh has everything he needs. The priests begin to withdraw, walking backward, never turning their backs on the sarcophagus. You follow, walking slowly, reluctantly. This is the last time you will ever be in this space. This is the last time you will be near the mummy you created. Tomorrow, the tomb will be sealed, and no one will enter it again until the day of resurrection, thousands of years hence, if the prophecies are true. You reach the entrance of the tomb. The sun is setting now, painting the cliffs in shades of red and gold. The day is almost over. Day 69 is ending. Tomorrow comes day 70, the final day, the day of sealing. The procession disperses. The priests return to their temples. The nobles return to their homes. The royal family returns to the palace. You and the other embalmers remain, camping in the valley, keeping vigil through the night. You cannot leave yet. Your duty is not finished. Tomorrow you must witness the sealing. You must see the work completed. You sit on a rock outside the tomb entrance, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. You think about the journey the pharaoh's soul is taking now. According to the texts, the soul leaves the body at sunset, begins its voyage through the 12 hours of the night, facing demons and trials, answering riddles, speaking the names of the gates. If the soul succeeds, if it overcomes all obstacles, it will reach the judgment hall at dawn. There, the heart will be weighed. If the heart is light, the soul will be granted eternal life. If the heart is heavy, the soul will be destroyed. You have done everything in your power to ensure success. The body is preserved. The spells are in place. The amulets provide protection. The opening of the mouth has restored the senses. The tomb is filled with provisions. Everything that ritual and magic can provide has been provided. The rest is up to the pharaoh himself and the gods. You pray through the night, praying for the soul you have served, praying that your work will be found acceptable, praying that when your own time comes to cross to the west, you will be granted the same care, the same devotion, the same transformation that you have given to others. As dawn approaches, you feel a sense of peace. The work is complete. The pharaoh is safe. Tomorrow the tomb will be sealed, and he will sleep undisturbed, waiting for resurrection. And you will return to the world of the living carrying the knowledge that you have served the gods well, that you have fulfilled your sacred calling, that you have been the guardian of the threshold between life and death. The wrapping of a royal mummy is perhaps the most complex and ritualized phase of the entire embalming process. It is not simply a matter of covering the body with linen. It is a magical procedure, a spell made manifest in fabric and knots, a protection woven layer by layer, prayer by prayer, amulet by amulet. You begin on the morning of day 51 with a ceremony of purification. The body has been anointed, has been transformed, but before the wrapping can begin, it must be blessed once more. The high priest of Anubis arrives, accompanied by 4 lesser priests. They circle the body, chanting in the ancient tongue, waving censers of smoking incense. The smoke swirls around the table, enveloping the body in fragrant clouds of frankincense and myrrh. The high priest touches the body at 5 points: the forehead, the heart, the right hand, the left hand, and the feet. At each touch, he recites a spell of protection. May Anubis guard this head. May Osiris guard this heart. May Horus guide these hands. May Isis protect these feet. May Ra illuminate this soul. When the ceremony is complete, the priests depart. Now the work belongs to you again. You and your assistants are alone with the body. The wrapping can begin. You have prepared the linen over the past days. It has been washed 7 times in water from the sacred lake of the temple. It has been dried in the sun, blessed by the rays of Ra. It has been cut into strips of varying widths, narrow strips, perhaps 2 inches wide, for the fingers and toes, medium strips, 4 inches wide, for the limbs and torso, wide strips, 8 inches wide, for the outer layers. In total, you have perhaps 1,000 yards of linen. It seems impossible that you will use it all, but you will. A royal wrapping can use 1,500 yards or more. The pharaoh must be completely enclosed, must be wrapped so thoroughly that not a single inch of skin remains exposed. You begin with the head. This is traditional. The head is the seat of identity, the part of the body that most clearly identifies the person. It must be protected first and most completely. You take a long, narrow strip of linen. You begin at the top of the head, placing one end of the strip on the crown. You bring the strip down over the forehead, under the chin, back up over the crown, creating a figure-8 pattern. You pull the linen snug, but not tight. Too loose, and it will shift. Too tight, and it might damage the delicate work you have done on the face. You continue winding, each pass of the linen overlapping the previous one by half its width. Slowly, the face disappears beneath the white fabric. The features blur, soften, vanish. The nose, the lips, the eyes, all hidden now, entombed in linen. As you wrap, you recite spells. These are spells from the Book of the Dead, the sacred text that guides the deceased through the underworld. O Seti, the linen that covers you is the white cloth of Ra. As Ra is clothed in light, so are you clothed in purity. As Ra is eternal, so are you eternal. The linen protects you. The linen conceals you from evil. The linen transforms you. The wrapping of the head takes hours. You do not rush. Each pass of the linen must be perfect. Each layer must lie flat, must be smooth, must be properly aligned. When you are finished, the head is a smooth, white ovoid, featureless except for a slight suggestion of the nose and chin beneath. Next, the fingers. You take the narrowest linen strips and begin to wrap each finger individually. Starting at the tip of the thumb, you wind the linen down to the base, then back up, creating multiple layers. Each finger receives the same careful treatment. This is painstaking work. Your eyes strain in the lamplight. Your fingers ache from the constant manipulation of the linen. But you persevere. When all 10 fingers are wrapped, they look like small white cocoons. You wrap the hands as a whole, enclosing all the fingers together, binding them to the palms. The hands become white mittens, shapeless but completely protected. The same process for the toes and feet, each toe wrapped individually, then the entire foot wrapped as a unit. The feet become white clubs, the toes indistinguishable beneath the layers of linen. Now the limbs. You start with the right arm. You place the end of a medium-width strip at the shoulder and begin to wind it down the arm, spiraling, overlapping, creating a smooth, even surface. When you reach the wrist, where the wrapped hand begins, you reverse direction, winding back up the arm, creating a second layer over the first. You repeat this process multiple times, building up layers. Between the layers, you insert amulets. The first amulet you place on the right arm is a small scarab beetle carved from green jasper. You position it on the bicep, on the outside of the arm, and hold it in place as you wrap more linen over it. The amulet is now hidden, sealed inside the wrapping, its protective magic working invisibly. Further down the arm you place another amulet, a small gold eye of Horus. This symbol of healing and protection is positioned on the forearm. More linen covers it, sealing it in place. When the right arm is complete, wrapped in perhaps 20 layers of linen, you move to the left arm. The same careful process, the same spiral wrapping, the same insertion of amulets, a carnelian D-jed pillar for stability, a turquoise ankh for life. Each amulet placed with intention, each one adding its own layer of magical protection. The legs require even more linen. They are longer, thicker. You wrap each leg individually, from hip to ankle, building up layers, inserting amulets at key points, a golden vulture on the right thigh, symbol of the goddess Nakht, protector of the king, a cobra on the left thigh, symbol of Wabet, the other protective goddess of royalty. These amulets are large, heavy, made of solid gold. They are not just symbols. They are treasures, worth a fortune. But for a pharaoh, no expense is spared. The protection must be absolute. Days pass. The wrapping continues. You work from dawn until long after dark, stopping only for brief meals and prayers. Your world narrows to the body on the table, the linen in your hands, the spells on your lips. You enter a state of focused meditation, where time loses meaning, where there is only the work, only the rhythm of wrapping, only the sacred purpose. On day 55, you begin wrapping the torso. This is the most important section. The torso contains the heart, the seat of the soul, the organ that will be weighed in the hall of Ma'at. The torso must have the strongest protection, the most powerful amulets. You wrap the torso in a crosshatch pattern, running strips diagonally across the chest and back, creating a lattice of linen. Between the layers, you insert dozens of amulets. Small ones, large ones, amulets of every material and every symbol. Eyes of Horus to see the path through the underworld. Tayat knots, the knot of Isis, for protection and resurrection. Figures of the gods themselves, Anubis, Osiris, Horus, Thoth, each one blessed, each one consecrated, each one charged with divine power. The most important amulet is reserved for last. On day 58, when the torso is wrapped in perhaps 30 layers of linen, you prepare to place the heart scarab. This is the largest amulet, carved from a single piece of green basalt, shaped like a scarab beetle, symbol of transformation and rebirth. The flat underside of the scarab is inscribed with spell 30b from the Book of the Dead, the spell that ensures the heart will not testify against its owner during the judgment. You hold the scarab in both hands, feeling its weight, its smooth surface, the grooves of the hieroglyphs beneath. You recite the spell aloud, activating the magic inscribed in the stone. O my heart of my mother, O my heart of my different forms, do not stand up as a witness against me. Do not oppose me in the tribunal. Do not be hostile to me in the presence of the keeper of the balance. You are my Ka, which is in my body, the protector who guards my limbs. May you go forth to the good place to which we hasten. You place the scarab directly over the pharaoh's heart on the left side of the chest. You press it firmly against the linen, feeling the resistance of the wrapped body beneath. Then you wrap more linen over it, layer upon layer, sealing it in place, ensuring it will remain positioned over the heart for eternity. With the heart scarab in place, the spiritual protection of the body is nearly complete, but the physical wrapping continues. More layers, more linen, the body is growing thicker, more substantial. What was once a thin, desiccated husk is now taking on bulk, dimension, presence. On day 60, you begin the outer wrappings. These are wider strips wound around the entire body, encasing it from head to toe in a single continuous spiral. You wind and wind, walking around the table, passing the linen under the body, over the body, creating a cocoon that grows thicker with each pass. As you wrap, you pour resin over the linen. The resin soaks into the fabric, darkening it, stiffening it. When the resin hardens, the wrappings will be as rigid as wood, a protective shell that will keep the body safe from physical damage, from humidity, from insects, from any threat the tomb might contain. The work is exhausting. Your arms burn with fatigue. Your back aches from bending over the table. Your hands are raw, stained black with resin. But you do not stop. The wrapping must be completed. The protection must be absolute. On day 63, you add the final external amulets. These are placed on top of the outermost linen layers, visible, designed to be seen. A large pectoral, a broad collar made of gold and lapis lazuli, is placed on the chest. Bracelets and rings, inscribed with the pharaoh's names and titles, are positioned where the wrists and fingers would be beneath the linen. These external amulets serve a dual purpose. They provide additional magical protection, and they also identify the mummy, proclaiming that this is not just any body, but the body of Seti, king of Upper and Lower Egypt, son of Ra. On day 64, you wrap the arms to the body. Until now, the arms have been wrapped individually, lying alongside the torso. Now you wrap linen around the entire body, binding the arms in place across the chest. The right hand is positioned over the left shoulder, the left hand over the right shoulder, the arms crossed in the Osirian pose, the pose of the resurrected god. This is the posture in which the pharaoh will spend eternity, and it must be exactly right. You wrap the legs together, binding them into a single unit. More linen, more resin. The body is now a single, seamless form, a white column on the table, barely recognizable as human. On day 65, you apply the final wrappings. These are sheets, not strips. Large pieces of linen that you wrap around the entire body like a shroud. You use 7 sheets in total, 7 being the sacred number, the number of completion, the number of perfection. Each sheet is secured with linen cords tied in special knots, knots that have magical significance, knots that seal the protection, that lock the spells in place. As you tie the final knot, you step back. The wrapping is complete. Before you lies a white, human-shaped bundle, approximately 7 feet long, perhaps 2 feet wide. It is stiff, rigid, heavy with all the linen and resin and amulets. It barely resembles a human body. It looks more like a white cocoon, a chrysalis from which something new will emerge. But you know what lies inside. Inside is Seti. Inside is the pharaoh. Inside is a god waiting to be born. The wrapping has taken 15 days. You have used over 1,000 yards of linen. You have placed more than 100 amulets. You have recited thousands of spells. The body is now protected by layers of magic and material, enclosed in a fortress of linen and resin, guarded by the power of the gods themselves. But the work is not finished. The body is wrapped, but it is not yet awakened. Tomorrow comes the ceremony that will restore the senses, that will allow the pharaoh to see and hear and speak in the afterlife. Tomorrow comes the opening of the mouth. Day 66 dawns clear and bright. This is the day of the most important ceremony in the entire 70-day process. This is the day when the mummy, which has been nothing but inert matter, cold flesh and linen, becomes animated, becomes alive in a new and eternal way. This is the opening of the mouth. The ceremony cannot be performed by you alone. You are an embalmer, a master of secrets, but this ritual requires a higher authority. The high priest of Amun himself will officiate. Sem priests will assist. The pharaoh's eldest son, the heir to the throne, will play a crucial role. This is not simply an embalming procedure. This is a resurrection ritual. The mummy is moved from the embalming table to a special stand that holds it upright. The white-wrapped form stands tall, facing east toward the rising sun, toward the direction of rebirth. Around the mummy, the workshop has been transformed. The walls have been draped with linen. Incense burners have been placed at the 4 corners. An altar has been set up, laden with offerings: bread, beer, meat, fruit, wine. These offerings are for the pharaoh, who will soon be able to consume them, spiritually if not physically. You stand to the side, watching, waiting. This part of the ritual is not yours to perform. You are a witness now, not an actor. But your work has made this moment possible. Without your skill, without your devotion, there would be no body to resurrect. Everything that happens now depends on what you have done over the past 65 days. The high priest enters, dressed in his full regalia. He wears the leopard skin of his office over his white linen robe. He carries a staff topped with the head of a jackal, symbol of Anubis. Behind him come 4 Sem priests, each carrying ritual implements. Behind them, the pharaoh's son, barely a man, perhaps 16 years old, his face pale, his eyes red from weeping. The ceremony begins with purification. The high priest circles the mummy 4 times, once for each cardinal direction. At each quarter, he stops and sprinkles water from a sacred vessel, water from the temple pool, water blessed by the gods. "I purify you with the water of life," he intones. "I wash away the taint of death. I prepare you for resurrection." The Sem priests chant in response, their voices rising and falling in ancient harmonies. The sound fills the workshop, echoes off the walls, seems to make the very air vibrate with power. Next comes the censing. The high priest takes a censer, a bronze vessel filled with glowing charcoal and heaps of frankincense. He swings the censer before the mummy, and clouds of fragrant smoke billow out, enveloping the white-wrapped form. "I purify you with the breath of the gods," he chants. "I fill you with the fragrance of paradise. I prepare your senses for awakening." Now the actual opening of the mouth begins. One of the Sem priests brings forward a collection of ritual implements, each one with a specific purpose, each one charged with magical significance. There is the Pasesh Kif, a forked blade made of meteoric iron. There is the Ur-Hekau, a serpent-headed wand. There is the Seb-Ur, an adze made of copper. There is the Neder Kepesh, a sickle-shaped knife, and most important, there is the Setep, a small chisel made of the hardest stone. The high priest takes each implement in turn and touches it to the mouth of the mummy. The mummy's mouth, of course, is hidden beneath layers of linen, but the location is known. The touch is symbolic, but no less powerful. Each touch is accompanied by a spell. He touches the Pasesh Kef to the mouth. "I open your mouth with the blade of birth, the blade that cut you free from your mother's womb. Be born again. Be free again." He touches the Ur-Hekau to the mouth. "I open your mouth with the serpent power, the power of transformation, the power of the uraeus that rises on the Pharaoh's brow. Rise, transform, become divine." He touches the Seb-Ur to the mouth. "I open your mouth with the adze of Anubis, the tool that shaped the first gods, the tool that carves perfection from chaos. Be shaped, be perfected, be made eternal." He touches the Neder Kepesh to the mouth. "I open your mouth with the sickle of time, the blade that harvests souls, the blade that reaps eternity. Be harvested, be gathered into the arms of the gods." Finally, he takes the Setep, the stone chisel. This is the most important implement. This is the tool that symbolically breaks the seal of death, that cracks open the barrier between life and non-life. The high priest holds the chisel with both hands, positioning it carefully at the mouth of the mummy. He raises it high. He brings it down sharply, striking the wrapped face with a controlled blow. The blow is symbolic. It does not damage the wrapping, but the magic is real. At the moment of contact, you feel something change in the air, a presence, an awareness. It is as if the mummy, which has been nothing but an object for the past 66 days, suddenly becomes inhabited again. Not alive, not breathing, but present, conscious, aware. The high priest speaks the final spell of opening. Your mouth is opened. Your eyes are opened. Your ears are opened. Your nose is opened. All your senses are restored. You can see the path through the underworld. You can hear the words of the gods. You can smell the incense of the offerings. You can taste the bread of eternity. You can speak your name before the tribunal of Osiris. You are no longer dead. You are no longer silent. You are awakened. You are transformed. You are reborn. The Sem priests respond with a thunderous chant. He is awakened. He is transformed. He is reborn. Now comes the part of the ritual that involves the sun. The young prince steps forward, trembling. The high priest hands him a vessel containing the leg of a freshly slaughtered ox. This is the most important offering, the offering that symbolizes strength, vitality, life force. The prince holds the ox leg before the mummy's mouth. His voice shakes as he speaks. "Father, accept this offering. May your strength be renewed. May your power return. May you feast with the gods and never know hunger again." He places the ox leg on the altar. Then he steps back and performs the ritual gesture of filial devotion, striking his breast, bowing low before the mummy. "Father, I honor you. I remember you. I will make offerings to you for all my days. Your name will never be forgotten. Your Ka will never hunger. Your Ba will never be lost. There are tears streaming down the young prince's face. This is not just ritual for him. This is not just magic and symbol. This is his father. This is the man who raised him, who taught him, who prepared him to be king. And now that man is gone, transformed into this white-wrapped stranger, this god thing that stands before him. But the ritual requires more. The high priest places a hand on the prince's shoulder, steadying him. "It is time," he says softly. The prince nods. He steps forward again. The high priest hands him a small gold statue, an image of the pharaoh himself, perfectly carved, adorned with the royal insignia. The prince touches the statue to the mummy's mouth, then to its eyes, then to its ears, then to its nose. At each touch, he recites the spell. "I restore to you your mouth, that you may speak. I restore to you your eyes, that you may see. I restore to you your ears, that you may hear. I restore to you your nose, that you may breathe the air of eternity." The ceremony is reaching its climax. The high priest raises his arms, his voice rising to a shout. The opening of the mouth is complete. The senses are restored. The Ka returns. The Ba is freed. Seti lives. Seti is reborn. Seti has become Osiris. Seti has become Ra. Seti is eternal. The Sem priests take up the chant. He lives. He is reborn. He is eternal. The chanting continues for long minutes, filling the workshop, spilling out into the morning air, announcing to the world that a great work has been completed, that a pharaoh has been transformed, that a god has been born. Finally, the chanting fades. Silence falls. The high priest approaches the mummy one last time. He touches his forehead to the wrapped chest, over the place where the heart lies hidden beneath linen and resin and flesh. He whispers words that only he and the mummy can hear. Then he steps back. He turns to you. Nakht, master of secrets, your work is complete. The body is perfected. The soul is awakened. In 4 days we will place this pharaoh in his eternal home. Until then, guard him well. You bow deeply. He is in the hands of the gods, and in my hands, which are their instruments. The high priest and the Sem priests depart. The young prince lingers for a moment, standing before the mummy, looking at the white, faceless form that was his father. Then he too turns and leaves, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. You are alone with the mummy once more. But it is different now. Before the opening of the mouth, it was simply a body, a thing you had crafted. Now it is more. Now it is inhabited. Now it is aware. You can feel it, a presence in the room, a consciousness behind the blank linen face. You approach the mummy. You place your hand on its chest, feeling the stiff linen beneath your palm, the hardness of the resin, the amulets buried within. "Great Seti," you whisper, "your journey is almost complete. 4 more days, and you will be placed in your tomb. Your voyage through the underworld will begin. The challenges and dangers of the Duat await you, but you are prepared. You are protected. You have been made perfect. The gods will guide you, and in the end, you will emerge victorious. You will sail with Ra in his solar bark. You will reign in the field of reeds. You will live forever." The mummy, of course, does not respond. But you feel, or imagine you feel, an acknowledgement, a presence, a peace. You spend the rest of the day in quiet maintenance, cleaning the workshop, organizing your tools, preparing for the final steps. Tomorrow, the face of eternity will be placed. Tomorrow, the mummy will receive its final adornment, the object that will allow it to face the gods with the beauty and majesty befitting a king. Tomorrow comes the golden mask. The mask arrives at dawn, carried by 4 priests and surrounded by armed guards. It has been kept in the temple treasury, guarded day and night, too precious to risk any earlier transport. Now, on day 67, it is brought to the Wabet for the final ceremony. You watch as the priests carry in the wooden crate as they set it down carefully on a table draped with the finest linen. The guards take up positions at the entrance to the workshop. No one will enter uninvited. No one will disturb this sacred moment. The high priest himself has come to oversee the placement of the mask. This is not simply a decorative element. This is the face the pharaoh will wear for eternity. This is how he will appear to the gods. This is the image of his divine self, purified of all mortal imperfection. The crate is opened. Layers of linen padding are removed, and there it is. The mask is breathtaking. You have seen death masks before. You have placed masks on the mummies of nobles and priests. But you have never seen anything like this. This is not simply gold leaf over wood. This is solid gold, perhaps 25 pounds of it, hammered and shaped and polished until it gleams like the sun itself. The face is serene, idealized, eternally young. The eyes are outlined in lapis lazuli, deep blue, giving them depth and life. The eyebrows and cosmetic lines are inlaid with more lapis. The headdress is striped with blue glass, alternating with the gold, creating the traditional Nemes crown worn by pharaohs. On the forehead of the mask, the uraeus rises, the cobra goddess Wabet, protector of kings, ready to spit fire at any enemy. Next to the cobra is the vulture, Nakht, the other protective goddess. These symbols proclaim that this is not just any man. This is the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. This is the living Horus. This is the son of Ra. The back of the mask is inscribed with spells, hieroglyphs carved into the gold, filled with blue pigment. These are spells of protection, spells of transformation, spells that ensure the pharaoh will be recognized by the gods, will be granted passage through the gates of the underworld, will be allowed to enter paradise. The high priest lifts the mask reverently, holding it in both hands. He brings it to the mummy, which still stands upright on its stand. The mummy's head is wrapped in smooth white linen, featureless, anonymous. In moments, it will be transformed. The high priest positions the mask carefully. The mask is designed to fit over the wrapped head, to cover it completely from the crown down to the upper chest. There are flanges on either side that will rest on the shoulders. The interior of the mask has been padded with linen to ensure a perfect fit. He lowers the mask slowly, carefully onto the mummy's head. The fit is perfect. The mask slides into place, covering the wrapped head completely. The mummy is transformed instantly. Where there was a blank white form, now there is a golden god, radiant, beautiful, eternal. The high priest steps back. Even he, who has seen countless rituals, countless sacred objects, seems moved. "Behold," he says softly, "behold the pharaoh, behold the son of Ra, behold Osiris, reborn in gold." You feel a tightness in your chest, an emotion you cannot name. Pride, yes. Satisfaction in work well done. But something more. Awe, wonder. A sense that you have participated in something far greater than yourself, something that touches the divine. The mask is secured in place with strips of linen soaked in resin, wrapped around the neck and shoulders, binding the mask to the mummy, ensuring it will never shift, never fall away. The mask and the mummy are now one. Once the mask is secured, you step forward with the final adornments. You carry a golden collar, the vezek, a broad necklace made of hundreds of small golden beads strung in intricate patterns. This collar will lie on the chest of the mummy, just below the mask. You place it carefully, arranging the beads so they lie flat and even. Next, you bring the royal crook and flail, the symbols of kingship. These are made of gold and lapis, inlaid with precious stones. You position the crook in the mummy's right hand, the flail in the left, crossing them over the chest in the traditional pose. But of course, the hands are wrapped, the arms are bound. The crook and flail cannot actually be held. Instead, You secure them in place with more linen bandages, creating the appearance that the pharaoh holds them, that he carries his symbols of authority into eternity. Finally, you place additional amulets around the mask and on the chest, small gold figures of the gods, Isis and Nephthys, who will protect the body, Thoth, who will guide the soul through the judgment, Horus, who will grant the power of resurrection. Each amulet is positioned with care, each one secured with linen and resin. When all the adornments are in place, you wrap the entire mummy once more with a final shroud. This is a single large sheet of the finest linen, dyed a rich gold color. You drape it over the mummy from head to toe, then secure it with linen cords tied in elaborate knots. The golden shroud covers everything except the mask, which remains visible, the radiant face of the God-King shining through. The transformation is complete. What began 67 days ago as a dead body cold and beginning to decay has been transformed into this. A golden god wrapped in spells and precious materials protected by the most powerful magic known to Egypt, ready to face the challenges of the underworld and emerge victorious into eternal life. The high priest performs a final blessing, touching the mask with sacred oils, reciting the last prayers. Then he turns to you. The work is finished, Nakht. You have served the gods well. You have served the pharaoh well. When he rises in the afterlife, he will remember you. He will honor you, and when your own time comes to cross to the west, he will speak for you before Osiris. This I promise. You bow, unable to speak. The high priest departs, and you are left alone with your creation. You walk around the mummy slowly, examining every detail, looking for any flaw, any imperfection. You find none. The work is indeed perfect. You spend the rest of the day and the night in the Wabet, keeping vigil. The mummy stands in the center of the room, silent, glorious, surrounded by lamplight. You sit on the floor before it, sometimes praying, sometimes simply watching, contemplating the mystery of death and life, of corruption and eternity, of the work you have done and the faith that made it possible. Tomorrow, the funeral preparations begin. Tomorrow, the world will see what you have created. The day after, the procession to the tomb, and on day 70, the sealing, the end of your work, the beginning of the pharaoh's eternal life. The procession forms at dawn on day 69. The streets of Thebes are lined with thousands of people, all dressed in white, all wailing in ritual mourning. The sound is overwhelming, a cacophony of grief that rises to the sky, that echoes off the temple walls, that seems to make the very earth tremble. The mummy has been placed on a golden funerary sledge, a large platform mounted on runners. The sledge is itself a work of art, carved with scenes of the pharaoh's triumphs, inlaid with precious stones, shining in the morning light. The mummy lies on the sledge in a wooden coffin, the first of 3 coffins that will eventually encase it. This outer coffin is made of cedar wood, carved and painted to resemble the pharaoh in his full royal regalia. The face painted on the coffin matches the golden mask within, serene and eternally young. 12 priests in white robes pull the sledge with ropes of woven linen. They move slowly, processionally, their movements synchronized, ritualized. Behind the sledge comes an ox cart carrying the canopic chest, a magnificent box made of alabaster and gold that contains the 4 canopic jars with their precious contents. The pharaoh is preserved organs. You walk behind the canopic chest, along with the other embalmers and the Sem priests. You are dressed in your finest white linen. Over your shoulder, you wear the leopard skin that marks you as a priest of the highest order. In your hand, you carry a staff topped with an ankh, the symbol of life. Behind you comes the new pharaoh, the son who is now king. He walks barefoot, his head shaved in mourning, his chest bare and scare. What your life was really like as an embalmer. 70 days with the dead dawn on day 70 breaks clear and cool. The eastern sky lightens from black to deep blue to gold. The sun rises over the cliffs of the Valley of the Kings, and for a brief moment, the entire valley is illuminated, every stone and shadow revealed in perfect clarity. This is the final day. This is the day that completes the 70-day cycle, the sacred period of transformation. This is the day when the tomb is sealed and the Pharaoh begins his eternal rest. You have washed and dressed in your finest linen. You stand with the other embalmers and priests near the entrance of the tomb. The atmosphere is solemn, expectant. Everyone understands the significance of this moment. This is not just the end of a funeral. This is the completion of a cosmic process, a transformation that affects not just one man, but the entire order of the universe. The royal family arrives, led by the new Pharaoh. They have spent the night in ritual mourning, and their faces are drawn, exhausted. But there is also a sense of resolution, of acceptance. The grief remains, but it is being channeled into the proper forms, the rituals that allow life to continue even in the face of death. The high priest of Amun performs one final ceremony at the entrance to the tomb. He lights a bundle of incense, and the smoke rises into the still morning air. He pours a libation of water on the threshold, a gift to the earth, a blessing for the guardian spirits of the underworld. He recites the final prayer. Osiris Seti, your tomb is prepared. Your body is preserved. Your soul is freed. Your journey is begun. May you overcome all obstacles. May you speak the names of power. May your heart be found light in the balance. May you be declared justified. May you live forever in the field of reeds, where the grain grows tall, where the sun always shines, where death has no power. May your name be remembered. May your Ba return to this place. May your Ka be nourished by offerings. May you rest in peace until the day of resurrection. The priests respond. May he live forever. May he rest in peace. May his name be remembered. Now the masons come forward. They are common workers, not priests, but their work is no less sacred. They carry blocks of limestone, already shaped and fitted to seal the entrance. They carry baskets of plaster and tools for setting the stones. They work quickly, efficiently, under the watchful eyes of the priests and the royal family. You will never see it again. No living person will ever see it again unless the tomb is robbed, unless the seals are broken, unless the unthinkable happens. But you have faith. You have faith in the magic. You have faith in the spells. You have faith that Anubis and Osiris and all the gods will protect what you have created. You have faith that the Pharaoh will complete his journey, will pass his judgment, will rise again in glory. The boat reaches the east bank. You disembark and walk through the streets of Thebes. The city is returning to normal. The period of mourning is ending. Life goes on. The markets are open. Children play in the streets. Farmers work in the fields. The world continues, as it always does, as it always will. You reach your home. Your wife meets you at the door. She has not seen you for 10 days since the wrapping began, and you moved into the Wabet to maintain constant vigil. She embraces you, asks about the funeral, about the sealing. You tell her it went well, that the Pharaoh is safely entombed, that the work is complete. She prepares food, and you eat for the first time in days with any appetite. The exhaustion of the past 70 days catches up with you suddenly. You are tired, bone-tired, tired in a way that has nothing to do with physical labor and everything to do with emotional and spiritual expenditure. You lie down on your bed, and sleep takes you immediately. You sleep deeply, dreamlessly, the sleep of a man who has completed a great work, who has fulfilled his purpose, who has served the gods to the best of his ability. When you wake, the sun is setting. Another day is ending. Another cycle is complete. You walk outside and look west, toward the cliffs, toward the hidden valley. The sun is sinking behind those cliffs, dying as it dies every evening. But you know it will rise again. You know that death is not the end. You know that the sun god Ra sails through the underworld each night and emerges victorious each morning. And you know that Seti, sailing with Ra, will do the same. 70 days ago, a man died. Today, a god sleeps, waiting for resurrection. And you, Nakht, Master of Secrets, were the one who made it possible. You were the hand of Anubis. You were the servant of eternity. You were the guardian of the threshold. Your work is done. The Pharaoh's journey has just begun.